Hello again, everyone, and I welcome you to our Friday reflection time. I hope all of you are having a great week and that everything is going well for you. Again, I just want to reiterate how excited I am to be here and to be a part of this ministry and getting to know people and the different aspects of the ministry. It's a lot of fun, and I enjoy it and look forward to more and more of that happening over the next several weeks. I want to talk today a little bit more about stewardship, maybe in sort of a fun and a personal way. In the Bible, it tells us that we are not to put God to the test. If you remember the story of Jesus being tempted by the devil, one of Jesus' answers to one of the temptation to jump off the temple and have God come and make sort of a miraculous display of rescuing Jesus. Jesus responds by saying, it also is written, do not put the Lord your God to the test. And I know that's one of the temptations I probably violate a lot in my life. I've put God to the test probably more than I care to admit. But it's interesting, there is one time in the Bible that God does ask us to put God to the test. And that really is around giving and God providing. That God challenges the people to put God to the test. That in truly being generous and giving, that God will supply for needs. And last week I shared with you one of my favorite stewardship verses is 2 Corinthians 9:7. Where it talks about being a cheerful giver, that God loves a cheerful giver, not one that gives reluctantly or under compulsion, but a cheerful giver. And I know in my life I've been working on trying to be a cheerful giver. And the thing that's helped me is the next verse in 2 Corinthians 9, verse 8, that says, "And God is able to provide you every blessing in abundance, so that by always having enough of everything, you may share abundantly in every good work." And I found this to be true, is that when I have been faithful or trusting enough to do something of a generous nature, I've always found that I've never been in want. Because I think sometimes our reluctance to be generous and give is we're afraid that we're going to lose out on something, we're going to lose something, or something bad's going to happen. But God tells us that when we give from our heart, is that we can always know that God will provide. We don't do it for that reason. We don't do it to make God provide for us or hope that God will give us more in return. We don't do that. But when we give from the heart, when we're generous from the heart of our time, our talent, our treasure, whatever it is that God has blessed us with, we can know that we're going to be okay and that God is going to provide. And a great example of that, one of the most profound experiences I had in my life happened when I was a freshman, my first semester of college. I became a part of a little Lutheran chapel on campus, and this place really, really affected my faith and really turned my life around and helped me grow in faith more than I could ever say. But it was the first semester, and they were doing this program for Advent, where for every snack that you had outside of a normal meal, you were to set aside an equal amount of money to give to charity. And so I thought it was a good idea to become a part of that, so I signed up to do it. And so for over that 4-week period, I kept track of all the snacks I had outside of my meals, and at the end of it decided that I would add up the dollar amount. And I was surprised to see how much it was. And I remember it came up to $100. And you have to remember, this is 1985, and I'm a freshman in college. $100 is like a fortune. And I remember when I saw that number, it was like, oh my, I had no idea this is what I was getting myself into. My mom and dad, they're going to kill me for doing something like this. $100 could pay for my books for the next semester. And so I thought about it, but my good Lutheran guilt got the best of me. I decided, well, I signed up, it's for charity, I got to do this. So I conjured up the $100, went to church that Sunday. It was the last Sunday before going home for Christmas break, and I handed it in. And after the service, there was a time of reflection for those that were on the program to share their thoughts about this program. And it was interesting because almost everybody there shared how difficult it was and how guilty they felt and how they would never do anything like this again. It was real negative. And I remember leaving that thinking to myself, man, I'm never going to do this again. I mean, I might give here and there to help out as I can, but man, I'm never going to sign up for a program like that again. And so I went back to my dorm. My parents came, picked me up. I didn't say a word about this to them. We got home and walked in the front door, and right inside of our front door always was our kitchen table. And on the kitchen table was the mail that I had received, or had come in the mail since I had been home last. This was before email and cell phones and stuff like that. So this is when you got regular mail. And so I started going through my mail as you know, it was as I always like to, because at that time that was really many times the only communication I had with people that I wasn't around anymore. And on top was a letter or a card from my godfather from my baptism. And you know, he would always send me stuff, you know, for special events, and this one happened to be for my birthday, because my birthday was prior to my coming home a few days. And so I opened it up, and you know, I expected sort of that normal, you know, card, a few dollars in it, happy birthday, you know. I opened up, and when I opened it up, I opened up the check, and I just stood dumbfounded, because there in this card was a check for $100. And I remember it just sort of stopped me dead in my tracks. I was just sort of in awe. It was one of those moments. And that was the first time that I ever remember thinking, you know what? I'm glad I did what I did, because I was able, you know, to do a good deed, and at the same time God provided. And I really believe that's what Paul talks about here, and really what the Bible talks about, and what God says when God challenges us to put into the test when it comes to generosity. And I've learned this lesson over and over and over in my life. I could tell you a multitude of stories, but we won't say I'll do all of them at one time here. I'll give me something to do later on. But I've just found over time that part of being a cheerful giver is knowing that, you know, God's going to provide. And we don't do it for that reason, and we don't do it to be manipulative. But when we truly give from the heart, we can know that God's gonna bless those efforts, and it's gonna be worth it. And in the long run, it's gonna just mean a lot to others as well as to the person giving. And so I share that story as we go through this time, because I know many of you, including my family, go through a discernment process now and try to figure out what we can do and can't do. And we just need to be reminded of this. Again, I want to read 2 Corinthians 9:8. God is able to provide you every blessing in abundance, so that always, having enough of everything, you may share abundantly in every good work. When we share abundantly, it is noticed. And when we share abundantly, we don't lose out. We actually are blessed in the long run. I challenge you, if you haven't, also to watch the bread making film that's included in this by Tom Thompson, where he just goes through and talks about making bread. It's a really, really fun watch, and so I encourage you to look at that. Also, as you get ready to turn in your pledges, there's lots of ways you can do that. You can drop by the church office if you want. We'll have a place for you to put them there. You can bring them to worship, put them in the offering basket. You can bring them through the drive-through communion if you do that. And there's also going to be a link provided that you can go on and do it electronically, and it'll automatically come back to us. You know, however you decide, you know, we'll make sure to collect those and keep all of those together. And just a reminder about Sunday school for ages preschool, I believe it is, through second grade, and then third through fifth grade, and then there's an adult class as well. And Bible studies during the week on Wednesday morning, Wednesday evenings. And I'm sure there's some other ones going on. There's just a lot of good things still happening, and just really want to encourage you to be a part of those. There are ways that we can stay connected with one another, that we can continue to grow in our faith despite being a part of this pandemic. And do know that your leadership and pastors and staff continue to look at ways to serve and to provide opportunity for us to do ministry. So I ask that you would continue this time of discernment. how you can use your time, your talent, your treasure, whatever God has blessed you with, to continue to support this ministry and continue to make a difference in the world today despite the pandemic, and to know that, you know, God's word is never quarantined. That's one of the things I've learned, is that even despite a quarantine, it's amazing how God's work and word continues on. And I pray that we all will continue to be a part of that. I hope to see you all sometime soon, and God's continued blessings to you.